It's time to do some weaving, everybody. I'm really excited about this video because there are so many different options, so many ways you can do this. Now I am using the rabbit loom, which is, you can see, a 3/8 gauge. I'm using the largest part, which is 72 peg. You can use the 3/8, which is 36 peg, to do the same concept as well. You can use, now I do have a project on this right now, you can do the same with these, which I'll go ahead and show you a few just playing around that I've done. These came out of the ears of the larger gauge. That was a cat. And these I thought would be cute little appliques to put on little bags and stuff, so I did a few of those, just kind of playing around. The larger the gauge, the less detail you're going to be able to get. But you can still do nice little like paw holders and stuff if you would like. Although I do suggest not using an acrylic yarn for something like that. Now they do have, what's really neat is they carry the bands in 2 different sizes. So if you would rather use the bands, you can. I'm not using the bands today for the project I'm showing you guys. I'm using cotton yarn. And this one, I don't like the colors I use. I didn't use pastels, and it kind of reminds me of a baseball. But I'll show you how to do the weaving, how the designs are done, and how you get this shape to stay Easter egg, where it has more of a point at one end instead of the other. Although I pulled this and I just unshaped it. But I'll show you how to keep it in that Easter egg shape. Do some different colors, have fun with it. Let's talk yarn for a second, because I am doing this with cotton yarn because once I started making cotton washcloths, I haven't went back. I don't get that mildewy smell, and that's fantastic. Here's kind of, let me angle this up just a bit, maybe not. So I try to pull out my most Eastery looking colors. When it comes to white, you can purchase your white in 2 ways. And really the only place I found the cone was at Joann Fabrics. But this is the small size. There's a medium size, and then there's the big cone. Let's talk yarn. I pulled out my pastels, at least the closest to the pastels that I have. The reason I'm using the cotton yarn and stuff is just because I've been making some washcloths, and I really like the scrubby yarn and the cotton. I notice I don't get that mildewy smell. You can purchase your cotton in, this form. It doesn't have to be the Sugars and Cream brand. This is just the most typical one you see. Red Heart does have some out. This is the scrubby, which I'll talk a little bit more about as well. The one in this one right here, I used this color, which is an off-white, so that it would match this color. This time I'm using a straight white, so we're going to see how that plays against this off-white. Kind of just trial and error for me. But I bought the yarn in the cone this time, so there is no joining. I had to go to Joann Fabrics, I believe, to actually get the cone. Other stores probably carry them. That's where I was able to find it. My local Hobby Lobby and Michael's didn't have them. Doesn't mean they don't carry them. So this will be my background, because my background is going to be white. And now I got to decide what color I'm going to do my stripes in. I want to use the scrubby yarn just because I really like that scrubby texture. This one I'm thinking about using in this middle. And I need at least one more color here. See, and I have all these over here that I really like. I want to pull this color out and find a way to use it. This is the Sugar and Cream. Oh, lavender. Maybe I'll run those 2 together. See, this is one of those things where you just like go through and pick out what you want to use. Now, I don't want to use the red at the top because to me that made it look a little bit too much like a baseball. Maybe if I run this collar, which has the green, purple, blue, it has a bunch of pastels in it. No, I know what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to run the pastel purple with my scrubby purple. So, here's the colors I'm going to be using. It's going to be a similar concept, different weave design. The background is only going to be cotton. The scrubby yarn will be added 2 strands at a time, woven in this way. So everything this way is going to be filled in, everything this way is going to be filled in. Let's get started. Move my yarn over to the side. You've picked out the colors you want to use. You know the background color you're going to use. You have one more decision. I know something else you have to think about before starting this, but you will thank me when you're done. How much detail do you want to get in the design that you're weaving? This I ran 1 strand long ways, and I went under 2, over 2, because as you can see, the way it kind of wraps, it almost looks like they're in pairs of 2. But as you can see, that can make it a little thinner. It still looks adorable. It's not too thin. It's completely usable. Or if you want it to be like a really tight weave, you can run 2 strands of your cotton together. I know, white background, white yarn. This is not as helpful as it could be, but you can see how there's the space between those. If I run both strands together, that's the 2 strands together. And what I'm going to do, instead of weaving over and under 2, I'm going to be weaving over and under every individual one. So if you choose to do 1 strand, at the end of this, you'll be able to see the comparison of using 1 strand as compared to using 2 strands, because everything else is going to be the exact same. Now to undo this. Alright, here I am. Slip knot on my start peg, which is the pink. You can use your anchor peg down here if you like. A lot of loom companies are honestly going away from doing anchor pegs at all, so it's pretty cool that Cindywood still offers you an anchor peg, and it's basically like a tack, so if you prefer it in a different location, that's fine. Let's zoom in. Remember, I chose to use 2 strands. You can use just 1 if you want. That is okay. Especially if you are a first timer and you're concerned about getting confused or anything, you can just use 1. Let me see. This way looks like a decent angle. I'm actually casting this on exact same way you cast on a Kitchener. So if you are a sock maker, you know exactly what I'm about to do. Both these strands are 1, but I'm going to try to run them flat together. Right here, it's going to be really cramped, so it's going to be a little harder to do that here, but through this area, I will be able to get it a lot easier. See how I'm weaving? Be close, get you a little better look at this, because here's the knot for my cast on. I got both my strands together. We go in front of the peg, then we go back to the other side, go in front of the peg, and then we go back to the other side, go in front of the peg. That's what we're going to do to the completely over to the other side. I am down to my last 2. And if you did the 2 strands, you notice this is super, super thick. Even with 1 strand, it's going to be thick right here. But for this last peg, okay, I've got 1 peg empty. See how I twisted that under? I'm putting that, making sure I don't slip the other peg. Putting that on that last peg. So that way there is a stitch there. And I'm going to take my scissors. I'll cut that with a decent length. That way I can kind of weave it in good. So you can kind of see the shape coming along. This is our background. Now, all right, are you guys nervous? You ready to get started with this weaving? Now, I am still going to be using 2 strands. I know, 2 strands, guys. But I am throwing a little curveball. We're going to be using 1 strand normal and 1 strand scrubby. If you've never worked with scrubby yarn before and this makes you nervous, you don't have to use scrubby yarn. Because as you can see, because scrubby yarn, I know using knitting needles working with scrubby yarn, oh, it's horrific. But it really, I didn't find it too bad. And look, okay, so that's the wrong end of my yarn. I want to wrap that around here so it's not getting in my way. Ooh, one advantage of using the cones, you don't have to find a center pull. It's all like an outside thing, and you can just sit on the ground and work with it. So here we go. We got this. And see, as you can see, it even like sticks to itself some coming out. I kind of think of like how a wool yarn, a natural animal fiber yarn will do essentially the same thing. Now we need to find this top peg here. Typically I would have already marked it, and I didn't. So this was our last peg on this side, last peg on this side. So we're just going to follow these up until we just get to 1. Boom, there he is. Gotta remember, it's that one. I'm gonna push him down. Guess I could zoom in. Y'all are the ones wanting to see this. Now, this is where some differences can come in. How? Jump back for a second here. This is where the differences come in. How do you want to weave these through? There are different tools you can purchase. You can purchase long crochet hooks. I got this in a kit. I honestly don't know where I can purchase this by itself, but this is an actual weaving hook. And this part right here, which I'll show you guys. I'll use this some and show you guys, because this right here is actually to help you move the stitches back. And then I have just a regular crochet hook. Now this one's a little thicker. I use this one for part of this one because the hook was bigger on it. But everybody has their own preference. I like a crochet hook that has a really deep hook in it, like kind of like this is, if you can see. You can see how that one is. I tend to drop my stitches if I don't. So we decide what part is going to be our top. This will be our top. Why not? Do a little zoom in. We've popped that down. That's our first peg. So that's where we are throwing in a slip knot. Now, this is where we're going to have a little bit of a difference coming in. Okay, got that slip knot there. Make sure that's out of the way. Okay, we'll have to get in even closer for this, ain't I, guys? Let me switch this around. Okay, I know this looks weird. I just put a book under here. I wanted to change the color of the background so you can see the weaving technique right here a little better. So just like the other end, we got our slip knot. We are still going to be weaving like this back and forth the same way. But we're going to be bringing the yarn over and under all of these. So we're over that. This is right at the tips of the ends, so instead of splitting it between the two, I'm just going to use both. See, you can do it one at a time, which means this would be over, so this would be under. that would be over, but we were already at this other hook. See, I didn't work these ones because it would have put this stitch kind of in a weird spot, because later we will be taking all these bottom stitches over before we do our cast off. And as you can see, our yarn is always going to be coming from this direction. And depending on the design, right now we are going to be weaving opposites. So we're on this peg. I'm going to go ahead and push that one down. And I'll push that one down because I know I'm going from this spot to this spot. Now, we see this was an over. So the yarn went over this stitch. So we want it to go under that one and over this. If you know that, you can actually take, because you can see the ones that went over are popping up. We're going to this stitch, so we know that one's going to go over, and then it's going to get hooked there. So if you want, and we know this one's an over. See, here's where you can come into some trouble if you don't have a deep, I don't know what to call it, a deep well or a deep hook. Let's see, we have this one with only one stitch. I'm going to work a few of these with you guys. And then I'll come back with it worked down a little farther and show you how to add in and use a separate collar. For our second row, we're going to be doing opposite. If you look, you can see this string is over top. We've got the knot and stuff right here, so it's a little hard to tell. But every other one's on top. So that's on top, that's below. That's on top, that's below. And this was that peg that it went on. We're going to this peg. So we're doing the opposite. This would have been on top. So now that's on top. And you can kind of see, because we'll be picking up the ones that are kind of inset a bit. And the yarn goes around the peg. I'm hooking it on the hook, and I kind of hold it a little tight. See how we lost one of the strands? I'm going to go back and kind of pick that up. And untangle it, because of course I tangle it. Oh, no I didn't. See, if that happens, just make sure you got them both even. And here's that next peg. Of course, we want to keep these two above the ones on the bottom. And let's do one more, and I'll show you an up close. Again, we are doing opposites. So we know that's an over. So this next one's going to be an under. And for those of you, if you don't have a long crochet hook, and this is the way you want to do it, your local craft store should. Even Walmart has them. See? We hook this here. We ignore this last one. We ignore these last two that's coming from that peg just because we want this stitch on top. Now, when we're starting over here, you're going to notice I always put it on top, and sometimes I go under. That's because it's always on top. If I do that over here, it twists it underneath. But our yarn is coming from here. This is where I want to kind of show you what, let me zoom out. You guys get to see my little notebook. But you see how this is kind of going like that? We don't really want that. So you can use your loom tool, push that down. If you somehow have a weaving tool already, see this? You can actually get combs, like little rake combs, and you can push it down that way. But I'm going to try to do a real up close here, because I'm going to work down a few more, because I really want to teach you guys the method, and then I want to see you guys create your own designs. I'm just showing you how the process works. Let's zoom this in so you can see how this weaving looks. Now I'm going to continue the weaving like this the 2x2. I'm going to go ahead and do that until I get to my different collar. So basically right now, if you are following along, you work it down until you want to start a different collar, and then you check the next part of this video out. Because at that part, we're going to be going through each individual so we can get a nicer design. It's time to change color. As you can see, I got the weird like moon shape thing going on here. I went ahead and cut my yarn. We'll weave that in later. But here's where I can kind of show you what this does. You can just use this. You can go up as far as you want. These ends will be very thick, but honestly, later that's going to help you to create the perfect egg shape that you want. But we go through and tighten all this up while I get interrupted by a cat. That, again, you can use your loom tool if you want. Pull a little tighter. Okay, and if you look, you can see the weaving pattern. Now we switch to a different color, and I don't have to worry about the white being an issue. But guys, now I gotta figure out what color to switch to. Okay, so on this one, having the pink at the top made it look too much like a baseball to me. So we are going to do, is this like an aqua mint? That's really pretty, but I still like it scrubby, so I'm going to mix these two together. Let me put my camera up a little bit for a minute and show you guys something. I've got a watcher. Hey, Figaro. Figs. What are you doing? Over here. What do you think you're doing? That is the I'm not happy twitch. Figaro is my buddy. Let's just hope. Okay, and now I'm going to show you guys a secret. How to get the center pull out of your yarn. You just you have to loosen up the entire inside as much as you can, and then like just pray. Did I get it? Did I get it? Did I get it? Ah! I got it! Without yarn barf. If you've heard that, I know it's a very unpleasant image. If you've heard that term before, it refers to when you're trying to get a center pull and you pull like half the inside out, which may or may not happen with this one. And I can't tell you what color this is because when I went to the store, of course, it didn't have a label on it. But it's got like my purple and my blue and my green and all those in it. But again, we're going to open up the middle, cross our fingers, hope for some luck. What I like is when you think you got that center pull and you pull it. No! No, that's not what we do. Okay, make sure there's no knot there. And we know that's not it, so we try to get more in the center. Oh, I see it! Yes! Little bit of yarn barf. Horrible phrase. I'm not going to say that again. Sorry. Yarn mishappening. We've angered the yarn. Oh my. Okay, so. Yeah, the struggle is real. This isn't a thing that only, some people deal with. No. This is something that all fiber artists deal with. There we go. See, with like the catchy things, it was catching on the yarn itself. So now to make sure this is all untangled, and it is. And then to sit it down here, where hopefully it is out of my way. Oh no, now I have to find that end again. Oh, I'm just getting the eyes of evil here. Oh, yeah. It's like, no, 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 I'm sniffing something. I'm not stink-eyeing you. We bought new cat food, and she's very picky. All the other cats have no problem with the food, except Figaro. So she's been following me around the house all day. She will only eat, it's like kitten caboodle or something, but she will only eat like certain collars out of it. Alright, so I've got my mint and my multicolored here. Seriously, Figs. That's just where you're gonna lay. Is this your home now? Is this what we're doing? You hate the food so much, you're gonna lay in the middle of my project? Figgy Figs. I'm sorry, honey. Excuse me, guys. Okay. What I do want to show you is we're doing the collared part. So I want a little more detail. Oh, you guys are just going to be so mad because we're going to go in and out of every individual one. And of course, I don't want you guys to copy me exactly. Be creative. Make this your own. Come up with your own little weaving design. And we are going to start. You can start on the same side, or you can start on the opposite side. If I start on the opposite side, then this is the side this is the side it's going to weave through, and this is going to be like where my end string is. Oh, you're being a pain today, Figgy Figs. So, are we going to start? We'll start with a little slip knot. But what I'm going to do is, since I'm going to be weaving this in, I'm putting the slip knot on that previous peg. Now I'm going to have to zoom in and move Figaro. Oh, are you going to move by yourself? Good girl. Or are you just sitting in front of my lighting now? So special. Okay. Oh, the fun part. Actually, I'm lying to you guys. I'm trying to just angle this really good before I start this. Okay. We want to get these little strands, get those out of the way. I'm tucking them. After 4 takes, I had to put Figaro out of the room, so I'm sorry, guys. Alright, what we're going to do now, and I'm going to take the cast on little string for our new collar. I'm putting it underneath just so it is completely out of the way. And remember, this is on a peg before. That was Figaro opening the door again. Let's see how this goes. Okay. This time, instead of... maybe if I zoom this in just a little more. Okay. See how it was 2, over 2, under 2, over 2, under 2. This time, we're doing over 1, under 1. And you can pick anywhere, because the 2... if it's always going to be the same. If your first one is an under, like I did with those first 2, the second of the 2 strands, always going to be an under. Well, for this entire row, I mean. Ooh, ooh, ooh. See, it's getting a lot tighter. Some of them get a little jumbled and it can be hard to see when you get over to the edge. You know what? That's okay. These edges are going to have a, let me see, I pick up that one, and then I'll pick up that one, and then I'll pick up that one. The edges are going to have a, we're going to be casting them off. So don't worry if your yarn is a little longer, or if you're skipping different ones around these edges. So then we push that up, which we don't have to. And we keep going. If you need to, you can do a few at a time, which that's what I'm doing since I'm just doing over one, under one, over one, under one. Like I said, I've been playing around, so I'm just trying some different styles, some different designs and techniques and stuff. This is one of those projects that you just kind of sit and I like, and I really hope all of you just sit down with this, enjoy learning the technique, and just be creative and come up with just some really neat designs. I'm really excited to see what everybody does with this. All right. I'm over at this other end and I just did my last one, which I'm going to push that initial stitch down. But I'll show you what this looks like. Okay, this is what it looks like right now. Bit of a mess, but we're going to tighten this up. Now, when I'm doing the collar ones, I go ahead and tighten up each row kind of as I go. Really helps me see my design. And you can already see, I'm going to point out a mistake to you guys. But what we call this is a design element. This stitch right here, how I have 3, that one right there should have been underneath. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep going along, singing my song. Just like Pete the Cat. If you've had a small child in the past, like 10 years, you may get that reference. Or if you've had any children in the past 10 years. Okay. So, when we are starting and ending, of course, if you skip 2, that's okay. This row, I'm just going to do opposite. I think with this collar, I'm going to do 3 passes, rotating them out. It's going to be a small stripe. I'll go ahead and show you how to get started on that next row. But remember, guys, this is the same. We are just using, this was an under, so it's going to be an over. This was an under, so it's going to be an over. See, and some of these look like I have multiple ones together that I don't. This was an under, that's an over. This is an under, now it's an over. And the ones right here on the edge, the ones right here on the edge coming from this peg, you can just forget them. And whichever way you need to pull your hook, pull it through those. And I'll go ahead and show you tightening this up. And then, because it's going to look really messy, and then once you tighten it up, you'll be able to see, oh, okay, those are over, under, over, unders. when you start getting to the edge over here where it is a little harder to see your stitches. Now that one was an under, so I know this is going to be an over. You might need to kind of stretch your stitches apart some. But if you don't, that is okay. If you just do, I mean, this is your project, your creation, your design, you know. You don't have to do it the same way I am. But you will notice that it gets a little more difficult to do the weaving. Let me zoom out. In these areas where the yarn is a little tighter. Does create the weaving to be a little more difficult. I'm going to tighten that last row up. Push these up. We'll either use my weaving tool or my loom tool. Actually, I think the loom tool's working better for me. Okay, zoom that out. All right, so you guys seeing the egg design starting to pop out now? Now I'm going to do, let's do 2 rows of my white and scrubby. And I'm going to go back to the same weaving. Over 2, under 2. Over 2, under 2. Now remember, some of this looks really, the most difficult part of the weaving is going to be in this area on both sides, just because it is doubled up. And if you need to, you can treat 2 strands as one. And that's fine if you doubled it up. But see how this looks like there's 2 strands there? if you're weaving individual strands, you're going to see that one underneath. Because see, like there's actually, that strand's coming from there. But it's created a lot tighter weave right through there. But it looks like all these are on top. But no, if you look, there is one underneath. And when I do this next row, it'll help these pop out more. See, this side looks the same. I'm doing the same as I did before. I'm cutting a few inches of yarn here. I am going back to my white, and for no reason at all other than I started the white on this side, I'll go ahead and start my white on this side again. Like I said before, whatever side you want. Again, just to help me, I'm going to do my slip knot on the one before, because at the end we're going to be taking these and kind of weaving them in. So I'm just going to put that on the slip knot on the collar, to put my slip knot on that collar before, so that it's not getting in the way, it's not confusing at all. And I'm just going to do, I'm working 2 pegs of white. That's it. Just the 2 pegs, but it is double strands, the white and the scrubby white, and I'm going over 2, under 2. Okay, so I am at my next collar, and the way I'm choosing to do mine is, this is the middle. This is going to be the middle part of the egg. So I'm doing 3 before and 3 after. So the pink is actually going to run 7 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows all together. And since we skipped 2 stitches at a time, you know, we wove through 2 at a time here, and then we went and wove through 1 at a time here, 2 at a time here. Let's do 3. But we're going to alternate it some. Let me work this with you a bit and then show you exactly what I mean. Now, when you're starting new, I'm going to be running 3 at a time. I want to be picking up these ones back here more. But there's going to be times where just the way it's going to add up, it's going to run. And where I did want to point out, where I told you guys where I missed that one before. See, that happens. It's right here. And people aren't going to notice those things because this is a hand-woven item. If you make this for someone and they don't appreciate it, then take it back and use it yourself. You'll appreciate your own work. No, something like this is adorable, and there's a lot of work that goes into this stuff. So what I'm going to do, seeing as how I got like this big cluster here, I'm going to kind of break that down. It's hard to count, so if I can kind of pull it out separate like this a bit. I know I didn't put my different collar underneath to show you. It's like, okay, I know I got 2 stitches, so I need 1 more string pulled up for that. So there, I got 3. These first few I'm going to do just 1 at a time since they're so close together. Now I know there's 1, 2, and 3 that's going to go over. It's going to go over those 3. So there's 2 there. Go under this 3. And then we will go 1, 2, 3 over those 3. So then it would be under these 3. Oh. There we go. See how I've got this twisted right here a bit? I just run that all the way around, all the way down. All right. Under these 3, so then I will be See, it gets a little more difficult as we get over to the end. So let me see, I got 3 strands there. I'm going to hold those out while I get those next 3. I know, let me count, because they want to stick together. See, that was actually 4. So there's 3. See, because I'm actually going up here's the peg it's going on. So here are, there's 1, 2, 3 that I'm skipping. 1, 2. See, since, let me see here, it's going over those. So I'm going to pull it, there we go, there's the 3. Pull it under those. And instead of even attempting to count, let me zoom this in. Alright, so here I am, and I still have some extra strands there. So instead of even attempting to count those, because this is such a tight area, I'm just bringing my yarn up. I know I did 2 rows of the white right here, and that's just the knot. I got that on there, and then I make sure it stays on there. I tighten it up. I'm actually finding my loom tool more effective at pushing these up than the weaving tool thing. So, good to know. Maybe it's because it's firmer. I'm used to holding it now. Here is where we offset it just a little bit to get a difference. Since I've got like the zigzag in this one I'm just going to do diagonal, I think. But what we're going to do is, of course, I'm starting back over here. Our first ones we went under, it's so tight there. I'm just picking all of those up. Except here is where we are going to be offsetting the rows to create a texture. We just move the stitch over 1 stitch every row. I'll work this next row with you and show you exactly what I mean. Now at the beginning, just remember this area right here, it is really tight. So I know I keep saying this, but don't be discouraged if you're having trouble with this area. You can clump it together to, whatever's the easiest for you. Now we started that previous row with the yarn going over. Now we're just moving this down just a little bit. So that first strand here that goes over instead of under, push that one back. And then we are going to count 3 pegs, 3 pieces of yarn, 3 strands of yarn here. We got 1, 2, We have 4. We want 3. We take those, wrap them around that, wrap them around that, pull them under. So we know we're going to go over 3, so those 2 right there, and this one, which again, push it over, and we're going to go under. There's 3 right there. So you can kind of see how it's starting. So 1, 2, 3, over 3, 1, 2, under 3. Over 3. Alright, I'm over here at this other end. Still got like a few different stitches here, but I'm going to go ahead and put them on there just because that area is so tight. And it might take a couple rows to really start seeing how the design is going to go. But I'll go ahead and start a third row with you. And again, we're going to be moving it over one. So each time you're going to be, all right, let me see here. I've got, this is over. So let me try to count here. Yeah, see, that one's still really tight, so I'm not going to worry about counting those. I just know that these two are going to be on top, and that the first one underneath for this row. See how we have two that go over from the previous? We're still going to have the same. We're still going to have the two going over from the previous. So then we will be going over 3, under 3. Which if we only have one, I'm at the end here, so this may take me a moment. So I got 1, 2, there's the third one there. And then I need 2 of these. After getting started, then just keep going over 3, under 3. So over these 3, under, oh, I gotta get that first one, these 3. Let me zoom this out just a little bit. My hands are getting in the way some. Okay, so over 3, which I will hold those out. When you get towards the middle, it makes it a whole lot easier. There it is. I just gotta grab one of them. Oh dear God. Here I am at the end, and I need to go over 3 and then under 3, which of course I'm at like a really weird part, so I'm just keeping my over 1 and just kind of winging it from there. And then I'm just going to hook this on the peg. Make sure I've got it on the right peg. We got 1, 2, 3. And we got 1, 2, 3 over here. Zoom this out some and push all these up. I'm at the middle part. I know the color changes some, so it does distract a little bit from the design, but by the time you get all 7 rows done, you'll notice like an obvious white stripe through these. You'll just remember, when you're weaving, you're going to leave 2 of these on top. So whatever your 3 are, that first one here is always going to be an under. That way these other 2 and that next one will be your overs. Go ahead and finish up those 7 rows. This is the first 3, and that 4th one puts you in the middle. After that, you're actually doing everything the same. You're going to do your 2 white rows, your 3 mixed rows, and then you're going to finish it out with your white. If you want, I actually think I might do a little bit more. Maybe I'll do 4 of these rows instead of 3, just to make it look a little different. Be creative. Have fun with this project. Get it done to the bottom as close as you can down here, and then I will show you how to cast it off. We are at this bottom part now. And actually what I'm going to do, the yarn's coming from here, instead of weaving it through like normal, I'm actually just going to put it behind the peg. I'm going to pop that stitch off. Just put it behind the peg. Put the stitch back on. And then put that over there. Now we're going to talk about weaving the ends in. This is a lot easier to do before you do your cast off. Once the end is woven, you just grab the worst pair of scissors you can find and attempt to cut the strands. As you can see, I'm not cutting them completely flat. I'm leaving a little bit of room. Getting us down to our last one. Show you how I wove these in. Whichever 3 rows. So I want 3 pegs to have that color. What I'm actually doing is I'm just following the stitches that are already here. We're going to weave this in. Let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. You wrap it around the peg and you follow the same stitch. That's all you do. Just follow whatever the stitch pattern was that you did for that row. You just want to make sure your crochet hook catches it. Or you can use a tapestry needle. I've seen people use latch hooks too, and that's really, really effective. But of course, I knit very, very tight. Okay, there's one. I'm taking under these 2. So that's all woven. One more thing to do before we cast this off. The initial weaving we did this way. We want to knit over those stitches. The only reason is when I didn't do it on this, one thing left to do before we cast this off. We want to knit off these original stitches. The first one, weaving we did back and forth before we started adding the texture and the collar. So you'll notice none of this is going to be the cotton scrubby yarn, because I only used that on the other way. But see, go all the way around and knit those over. If you happen to come across one that doesn't have the scrubby yarn on it, that's okay. Just skip that. If you want, before you cast off, you can kind of tighten up the stitches in certain places if you want, but that can also be done at the end as well. This part right here, since it's not woven as tight as the top, this will be the top part of our egg. This will want to shape a little thinner. So let's get started on our cast off. To cast off, what we're going to do is this strand right here will be used to finish it off at the very end. But you're going to take, this is where your cord is, take this, we'll take the stitch off this peg, place it on before it, knit over. That just leaves one stitch. We're going to fill in this gap. What we're doing is we are crocheting a chain. We're going to take the stitch from the previous peg, from the next peg, move it back one, knit over, and then fill in this space. I'll do a few more of these with you. So you get, and depending on what part of your collaring you're at, you might have 2 little strands here, you might have a couple more. That's okay. Go all the way around back to your beginning. When you get on this side and this side, you'll have your cast on and like the beginning and end to your cast on strings. Ignore those, put them to the inside. We are at our last stitches. Go ahead, put that over. Take that off. And we pull the working yarn up. Alright, let's zoom out. See what we got here. As you can see, I weave very, very tight, and then doing the cast off, look, it's wanting to kind of bowl up. But this is where you actually can have some fun with it. Go around, you cut off all your little Excess strings, you want to stretch it in every way you can think of. Move my camera up just a little bit so you can see it's a little better. See, all these are already woven. This I will weave in. Those are already woven. And see how this is really, really tight down here. That is not giving up that little bowl type shape down there. And we have up here. Oh, yay. Alright, I'm going to move these ones down some. I hope you guys can see. I'm actually going to move the excess. You can kind of see how I'm using my tool to really shape the look. See how I have the stripes right here, which of course the design would have stuck out better had I been able to find pastel colors in my scrubby yarn and use solids instead of variegated colors. But I really like variegated colors. And at the end where I knitted those bottom stitches over, that wasn't necessary, but I did it so that these edges all match. So it's kind of like all the way around the egg. So there we go. We got our scrubby. Oh my god, this is so, my word, this is so thick and so scrubby. Yes, I am definitely excited about these. What I want you guys to do, make your own, be creative, show me your own designs, share them, whatever social media you have. I can almost guarantee you I have it as well. But see, like, even it's thick, where this right here was so tight and up here, like this almost feels like grips on it. But look, I like how I did the stripes, which I wasn't 100% sure what this was going to look like when I got done with it. And that's what I like about this, is I just kind of go along, and I will probably fidget and move the little stripes around even more. But I was able to get my egg shape. I made sure the weave was really tight and thick down at the bottom so it would want to hold the shape of the loom. And then when I got up here, it was a little thinner. That way it would want to go more to a peak. And I'm just going to take my crochet hook and weave that down in and cut it off. Unless you're using these to hang as decorations. There you guys go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, you don't have to use the smaller gauge. It's 3/8. Yes, you don't have to use the 3/8 bunny loom to make these eggs. You can use the larger gauge rabbit loom as well if you would like. I did. You can't get quite as much detail, but I've been working on some washcloths, and I really like these. I'm excited how they turned out. And I will definitely be making a lot more of these, because I have another one I've made upstairs that's kind of a tester. What's really cool, take two of them, sew them together to about here. You got, oops, you got someone knocking over a camera. No, you got a scrubby mitt. Like, how neat is that? You got a scrubby mitt. Make two of them and stitch them together. Scrubby mitt. I'm not making a scrubby mitt out of these two. These ones are going to be washcloths. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Questions, comments, leave them in the comments section below. I know there's no PDF to go with this. This is not necessarily how most of my videos go. This is really a concept video, and I'm really excited about it, to be honest, because I want to see what you guys do with just the basic concept of how the weaving works, how you can skip stitches and create designs. It's really fun, and you can even look up weaving designs to get different patterns that you can do. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'm on every social media there is. All that information's in the video description below.